Hello, I'm Bill Boggs. The intent of this video is to provide a brief discussion about making stone intarsia on a flat lap, very brief, and then to take a look at some creative machines that people have devised over the years to make intarsia. For a number of years, I've been teaching intarsia classes at the William Holland School of Lapidary Arts in Young Harris, Georgia. This, incidentally, is a pretty amazing place located in the beautiful foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in North Georgia. I say amazing, but of course I'm biased, but as a rockhound, lapidary, and jewelry aficionado, I don't think there's a better place to go to learn the crafts while rubbing shoulders with a group of other folks as crazy about all this stuff as you are. Besides that, it's an incredible bargain. The cost of a full week at William Holland, including classes and instruction, room and board, is considerably less than what you'd spend on a vacation for lodging and meals alone. But here, of course, the classes and instruction are also included in the price. In addition, if you're a camper like I am, bring your RV and stay with full hookups in the 10-site campground conveniently located right on campus. Okay, I guess that's enough PR about the school, so let's get on with the main subject. I frequently receive requests for intarsia machines, and occasionally I'm able to help people out if I come across a used machine that someone is wanting to get rid of. So last year, I received a used machine that needed some work, and I was able to refurbish it, and it's now being used by an excited new owner who has already signed up for the advanced intarsia class later this year. Then just earlier this year, I was able to get another gently used machine to a happy new owner. These are unusual situations, as lapidary folks tend to hold tight to all of their equipment, even if they haven't been used in years. Yeah, we all seem to be peculiar that way. The other common request that I get is, how can I build my own intarsia machine from a flat lap or other materials? Well, I learned to make intarsia on a flat lap many years ago before the advent of actual intarsia machines, so occasionally I'm able to offer some assistance. But first, I'll say a few words about just using a standard flat lap to create intarsia. If you've never tried this, it might sound a bit daunting, and actually it is at first, but with a little practice, pretty soon you find yourself getting into a routine. Furthermore, if you take a minute and consider that people have been using some sort of flat lap to make intarsia for hundreds, if not thousands of years, it kind of puts things into perspective. My first introduction to stone intarsia was back around 1995. Just 2 years before that, I had taken a class and learned to make cabochons. The result was that I became hooked on grinding rocks, and of course I immediately went out and bought a cabbing machine, and then proceeded to make cabs out of every rock I could find. Well, all you rock grinders out there know how this story goes, and before long I had amassed quite a collection of finished cabs. So what are you going to do with all those? Well, one option was to learn to make jewelry, and that's what I did. So I started focusing on taking wire wrap and silversmithing classes. Then, on a Friday in 1995, at the end of a jewelry class, I had been perusing and enjoying the school's show and tell event. Show and tell is the regular Friday end of the week event where everyone from all the week's classes display their work. Shuffling along and enjoying the displays, all of a sudden I saw the productions from an intarsia class. To say that I was overwhelmed would be an understatement. I had never considered you could grind rocks and end up with something so intricate, cool, and beautiful. I was hooked and immediately began an obsession to enroll in the first available Intarsia class. Well, darn, it turned out that I had to anxiously await till the following year for a class opening. However, it was worth it as I was able to enroll in a class taught by Intarsia Master Phil Magistro. That's me in the back, sporting the op divisor, which incidentally covered up the fact that I had a bit more hair back then. It was 1997, over 25 years ago. Incidentally, years ago, Phil Magistro made 2 Intarsia how-to videos. The original was on VHS tape, but it was later ported to DVD format. Unfortunately, I don't have a source for these videos, but if you poke around on the internet, you might find one. Also, I know some of the longtime rock and gem clubs have them in their libraries. The first video covers basic Intarsia using a flat lap, and the second covers advanced techniques using a faceting machine. Now, the reason I'm going on with this history is because back in that period of time, there were no Intarsia machines available, at least not commercially. However, most every lapidary owned a flat lap, and so that's what we used, and that's how I was taught to make Intarsia pieces. As I said earlier, this all might sound a bit daunting, but pretty soon you find yourself getting into a routine. The trick is to grind the edge surfaces, those that will be later glued, perfectly flat and perpendicular to the surface of the lap. All this while holding the piece with your hand. It turns out, with a bit of practice, this actually isn't terribly difficult. A good light source helps, and you may need to lean down so that you can have a good line of sight with the edge being ground. The first piece we did in class was very simple, but it taught you the basics of obtaining flat edges and also making sure that everything was squared up and parallel. Then by the end of the week, we had all gotten pretty good at the basics and had graduated to making more complex pieces. Again, all done on the flat lap. Hopefully, this discussion will offer some encouragement to anyone out there who might feel that an Intarsia machine is absolutely necessary. Actually, all the Intarsia machine does is to simplify the process of grinding flat, perpendicular glue surfaces. So while it may simplify things, hopefully you'll see that it's not imperative to the creation of fine Intarsia. The primary problem people seem to have when creating Intarsia is avoiding gaps in the seams between sections of stone. If gaps exist in the piece, that simply means that one or more of the steps in the basic process have been skipped or not completely adhered to. These basic steps and the entire process are covered in detail in parts 1 and 2 of my YouTube videos. Also, the identical details are discussed and illustrated in the book, Introduction to Stone Intarsia. Links to these resources are included at the end of this video. It's been said that necessity is the mother of invention. So for anyone out there struggling to locate or build an Intarsia machine, I've assembled a collection of other people's ideas that range from modified flat laps to variations of the basic Intarsia grinder with a horizontal lap and 90-degree shelf. These are all great examples of the innovative solutions lapidaries have come up with to create functional Intarsia machines. Okay, let's begin by keeping this simple. The first comment I ever heard in regards to improving the process of using a flat lap to create Intarsia was during my first class in 1997. Sometime midway during the week, as we were all gradually getting the hang of holding stones perpendicular on the flat lap, someone made the comment, "Gosh, I sure wish we had some sort of a fence across this lap to help hold the stone at 90 degrees. Everyone mumbled their agreement, and as we kept on grinding, little did we realize that a few folks had already put this idea into practice, although little or nothing was really advertised outside of discussions within a few rock clubs. So starting with this notion of a 90-degree fence and adhering to the KISS principle, here's the absolute most basic approach I have ever seen to implement a fence on a flat lap. I have never tried this, but hey, it sure looks like it would work, and you certainly can't beat the cost of materials to implement this solution. The next 90-degree fence on a flat lap solution was implemented many years ago by Ed Elam. Ed was a talented, creative, all-around lapidary and silversmith who was primarily known for his incredibly detailed channel inlay work. He taught classes throughout the Southeastern Federation for many years, and it wasn't until after he had passed that I finally saw a photo of his Intarsia machine. As you can see, he took the 2x4 solution a few notches higher to make it more of a fixed idea. The fence is attached on the right with a bolt to the support structure and on the left with a retaining cradle. This design allows the fence to be swiveled up and away for easy removal of the machine for cleaning or just to use the basic flat lap. In 2018, a student, Brad Shamhart, showed up in class and asked if it was okay to use his own Intarsia machine instead of the school machines. I said certainly, fully expecting him to be lugging in a standard Alsace type machine, but he surprised me. Turns out he had taken an old Inland brand flat lap and attached with screws a makeshift fence made from a scrap of angle aluminum. This created a perfect 90-degree fence, and he proceeded to turn out some very nice work in class that week, all of it using his modified flat lap. While we're talking Inland brand machines, recently I saw another creative design on the internet. I'll salute but also apologize in advance as I don't have the person's name, but it was a public post. This design took the basic tenets a few steps further. Most notably, the machine is sitting in a homemade 45-degree plywood cradle so as to make it sort of a slant lap machine. The 90-degree fence is screwed to the machine, but the original splash guard with built-in water spray is left intact. The final, very practical additions are the two splash guards attached to the bottom and left side of the machine. This appears to be an overall very practical design with great visibility and ease of use. Some people have noted in general the basic slant lap configuration is a more comfortable flat lap arrangement to work with. Furthermore, I suspect that others may have modified their commercially available slant lap machines and added a 90-degree fence similar to this representation. Photos of another interesting machine were discovered on the Rock Tumbling Hobby Intarsia forum. The post from 2013 was from members of the Northwest Federation who had attended their annual Rockhound retreat. The Intarsia class instructor had been using a custom-built attachment for the Ameritool flat lap. Apparently, the device had been built and sold by her husband. I researched this, and the contact was Conceptual Enterprises in Oregon. However, the information on the thread is now so old that I've not been able to obtain any follow-up. In any case, it appears to be a very substantial design with 3 points of adjustment to ensure a 90-degree angle on the fence. In 2022, a former student of mine, Ernie Wood, had signed up for the advanced class, and he brought in his own flat lap with its newly completed custom-designed 90-degree fence attachment. It was a simple but very creative design which he had built from parts obtained at the local Home Depot store. It consisted of 4 lengths of square aluminum tubing, 3 lengths of 90-degree angle aluminum, and 4 stainless steel bolts. Besides being creative and functional, this was the first fence attachment I had ever seen designed specifically for the high-tech all-you-need flat laps, which I know a lot of lapidaries prefer and have in their shops. Ernie built this specifically for his 8-inch model machine, but it should be fairly easy to scale down for the 6-inch models as well. I've included a lot of photos from different angles to provide a better perspective of the design in order to make it easier for those interested in possibly replicating this. So now we'll move on to what's become the standard configuration for Intarsia machines. That is a flat lap that's been rotated 90 degrees and has a shelf mounted perpendicular to the face of the lap. My history and involvement in lapidary goes back to the early 1990s, and so to my knowledge, the first quote-unquote Intarsia machines that were actually built for very limited sale, less than 10 that is, were made by Richard Coors. He was an instructor at William Holland School. These machines had 8-inch laps and featured a shelf that could be easily adjusted to accommodate laps of differing thickness. In the early 1990s, several others also built a few similar individual machines based on this concept. Then, in the late 1990s, inventor and master machinist Al Cesona picked up the basic design, refined it, and began producing and selling his 6-inch model Intarsia grinders. Now, 20 years later, these have become the accepted Intarsia machine standard. More recently, the very limited availability of the Al Cesona Intarsia grinders has prompted a number of creative roll-your-own models, of which here are a couple photos from online posts. The first is an interesting solution created and posted online by Don Hill. If you look closely, you'll see that he built this from an old bench grinder. The 90-degree shelf looks to be possibly scavenged from scrap metal, and he's added an overhead water drip system. It's always amazing to see what determined folks can create to solve a need for little or no out-of-pocket expense. This next machine takes the basic design and refines the implementation several notches higher. First of all, while it does appear quite heavy, it looks to be somewhat portable, with the fixed wooden base supporting the entire unit. Of special note are the very functional integrated splash guard and the easily adjustable shelf, which makes it simple to accommodate laps of varying thickness. This last solution will likely bring on some chuckles, but also some positive nods of admiration for creativity. A former student of mine, Peggy Sides, had been asked to teach an Intarsia class for her local club in Tennessee, but she was struggling to find an Al Cesona-style machine. With the class start date rapidly approaching and no success in finding a machine, she was rescued by her innovative son, who dreamed up this little item. It's made from a basic and cheap Home Depot/Lowe's/Harbor Freight style tile saw. The tile blade was removed and replaced with a small lap. The surface of the tile saw then serves as the 90-degree shelf. So, did it work, you ask? Indeed it did, and the class was a success. Finally, you may have heard rumors that Highland Park Lapidary has plans to build an Intarsia machine. Well, the rumors are true, and hopefully by the time you see this, the new machines, as seen in these CAD drawings, will have been released. The last I heard, there are to be 2 versions, a 6-inch model and an 8-inch model, both with 1/2 horsepower fixed-speed motors and adjustable shelves. Also, there are to be various angle attachments available, including a 45-degree unit to support mitering corners for making stone boxes. At this time, the prototypes are still being refined, but based on my experience with their recent products, I suspect these will be great machines and likely built like tanks. I know that many in the Intarsia lapidary community are looking forward to seeing and getting their hands on one of these new machines. Okay, time to finally wrap all this up. When I began this project, in addition to getting a brief plug in for William Holland School, I had several primary objectives that hopefully have been achieved to some degree. First, with just a flat lap and a bit of practice, you can grind rocks with perpendicular flat edges and make fine Intarsia. Second, the addition of a fence to a flat lap greatly simplifies that process. Third, by tilting a flat lap 90 degrees or even 45 degrees, the added fence actually becomes a shelf, which further simplifies the process. Finally, with all these in mind, I wanted to provide some food for thought with real-world examples of creative solutions that hopefully will be of help in improving your Intarsia journey. Thank you.